You know what it feels like. The days pass and you've done nothing. You say you want to be great, but your actions betray you. You doubt, you delay. You dream of becoming something extraordinary, yet your habits belong to a man who barely moves. And still, deep within, you know you were meant for more. So what do you do when you feel no fire? You stop waiting for fire and you become it. You do not beg for motivation, you build structure. You do not wait for the right feeling, you impose law. You do not ask for energy. You become a man who moves regardless of emotion. This is not a soft speech. It is not for the man who wishes to be coddled. This is a system, a rescue plan for the drifting soul. If you obey it, truly obey, it will train your mind to act when you feel nothing, to move when you are tired, and to finish what you begin without being begged. But if you do not listen, if you drift past this message like all the others, expect to wake up 1 year from now with the same excuses, the same wasted hours, the same quiet shame. Ask yourself, why do I say I want wealth but never build it? Why do I speak of ambition but obey every distraction? Why do I feel stuck, confused, slow when I know I was born with power? These questions will be answered here, because this speech will show you how to rise when you feel nothing, how to act without needing to feel inspired, how to build a system so strong you no longer need willpower, how to silence the voice of delay and become the man who moves, commands, creates, and leads. By the end, you will not ask for drive. You will command yourself into action. You will think in law, you will act in identity. You will become the man your former self feared you might become. So now sit down and listen like your future depends on it, because it does. You say you want success, but you cannot move. You call it laziness. I call it something far more dangerous, aimlessness. You are not idle because you are broken. You are idle because you have not yet issued a law that your mind must obey. You are not tired. You are undirected. You are not weak. You are untrained. And you have no right to call yourself lazy until you have trained the mind to follow a command. A man is not built on emotion. He is built on law. A man does not rise because he feels good. He rises because he decides and moves. You say you want to change your life, then obey this law. Do not wait for desire. Become the type of man who acts without it. This speech will not flatter you. It will rewire you. It will destroy the myth of motivation and replace it with the science of daily command. Most men walk through life seeking emotion to carry them. But emotion is like the wind. It changes direction by the hour. Those who rise do not depend on the wind. They build their identity on bedrock, purpose, repetition, structure. Do not tell me you need motivation. Tell me instead that you lack structure. Tell me that you have not yet given your mind a definite chief aim, that you have not yet repeated your law long enough to become it. Let me make it plain. Discipline replaces inspiration. Purpose replaces emotion. Repetition replaces doubt. Obedience builds power. When Carnegie told me to write down my definite chief aim, I did not feel inspired. I felt tested. I obeyed. And that act of writing, speaking, repeating, became the beginning of everything. He said, "The man who waits for feeling shall never act." And I repeat to you now, act not from emotion, but from law. You will now receive 8 laws, not soft encouragements, not passing suggestions, but principles, each of which has ruled the lives of men like Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, Schwab. These were not men of perfect motivation. They were men of imperfect emotion governed by perfect systems. Men who did not need to be reminded of their desire because they built their day to obey it. Do not expect to leave this unchanged. Do not expect ease. This is a new mental code, a new structure, a new identity. And if you obey it, then the man you become shall no longer beg for inspiration. He shall become unstoppable, unshakable, and immune to drift. Let us begin with the first law. Part 1, kill the myth of motivation with a written aim. You have been deceived. The modern world has told you to wait for motivation, to wait for the fire to strike you like lightning from heaven before you begin your work. But I tell you now, motivation is a myth. It is a phantom that disappears the moment pressure rises, and any man who depends on it shall be ruled by delay for the rest of his life. You do not need motivation. You need a written aim. A mind without direction will wander into weakness, but a mind fixed on one dominant purpose will bend the entire world to its will. You must stop chasing emotion and begin constructing identity. No man can become wealthy, disciplined, or decisive if he does not first know, in writing, what he is commanding his mind to serve. Carnegie once told me, "Put your aim in writing, then put it in your mind, then put it in your bones." That instruction alone, when obeyed, turned me from a passive observer into an instrument of power. When your aim is written, it becomes law. When it is spoken aloud, it becomes command. When it is repeated, it becomes identity. You say you feel lost, but you do not lack energy. You lack a center. You lack a point of force around which your thoughts can orbit. A chief aim is not a goal. It is a spiritual command. It is not something you hope for. It is something you declare, something you obey, something you repeat until your subconscious bends to it without protest. Write this now. I do not wait for motivation. I obey my definite chief aim. I act because I decide. This is your first law. What is not written cannot rule you. Vague thoughts produce vague actions. Drifting thoughts produce drifting lives. But a written aim becomes an anchor. You must write your purpose clearly. Speak it aloud with emotion, and repeat it daily, morning and night, as if your future depends on it. Because it does. A written aim cuts through fog. It ends confusion. It commands the subconscious mind. It rewires the mental machinery and sends a new signal to infinite intelligence. No man can read his purpose aloud every day and remain a drifter. The act itself begins a transformation, slow, silent, permanent. Now understand this. Until your chief aim is in ink, it is not real. Until you have posted it on your wall, until you have read it aloud each day, until you feel your chest rise as you speak it, it is still only a whisper in the void. Say this aloud now. I obey my aim. I do not wait to feel. I decide and I act. Do not trust memory. Do not wait for mood. Write it, repeat it, burn it into the subconscious. That is how men rise, not by chance, not by feeling, but by a system of repeated law. The moment you write your aim, your life gains direction. The moment you read it aloud, your voice gains authority. The moment you repeat it daily, your subconscious mind begins to construct the conditions necessary for its fulfillment. Shall I tell you why so few men change? Because they never write, they never declare, they never rehearse the law long enough to override their past identity. They drift, they delay, they distract themselves into powerlessness, but you shall not if you obey. Write your aim. Place it where your eyes must see it. Read it aloud upon rising and before retiring. Read it with belief. Read it with emotion. Read it as if your subconscious were a servant obeying every word. Because it is. Say this now. I know what I want. I know why I want it. I command my mind to deliver it. Do not ask for permission. Do not wait for applause. Do not explain your aim to those who drift. Declare it. Own it. Repeat it. And act like it is already done. That is the way forward. That is how you kill the myth of motivation. When you obey your written aim, you will feel energy return, not from emotion, but from direction. You will begin to move, not because of inspiration, but because you have trained your mind to serve your will. This is the power of the written law. This is the first step toward transformation. Now go. Write your chief aim. Speak it aloud. And do not sleep tonight until it is done. Part 2. Replace emotion with system. The man who rises in this world is not the one who feels the most fire, but the one who obeys the same pattern each day, regardless of how he feels. Emotion is a fraud. It is undependable. It is the child of weather, diet, sleep, and noise. But system is divine. System is the parent of all power. You were never meant to be ruled by feelings. You were meant to be ruled by law. And law is upheld through daily systemized thought and movement. When your days are unstructured, your mind becomes your master. But when your days are constructed with rhythm and pattern, your mind becomes your servant. The man who builds his days by system eliminates confusion before it can rise. Ford did not depend on enthusiasm to produce automobiles. He depended on system. He arranged men, machines, materials, and minutes, not feelings. His assembly line was not moved by hope. It was moved by precision, routine, and definite purpose. The same law that built his factories must now build your life. You say, "But I don't feel like it today." Then I say, "You are still ruled by emotion." You say, "I'm too tired, too distracted." Then I say, "You still obey conditions, not commands. And as long as you are ruled by your mood, you will never command your results." Emotion makes you fragile, but system makes you inevitable. Now understand this. A man who builds a system no longer requires motivation. His schedule decides his movement. His law decides his thought. And once that pattern is set, it will carry him even through fatigue, even through fear, even through failure. This is the science of mental structure. Say this aloud. I follow law, not mood. My habits decide. I do not negotiate. You must now build a morning law, a set of commands you obey before the world speaks to you. The first hour must belong to you. You rise. You drink water. You read your written aim. You move your body. You speak your affirmations. You write your targets. That is law. You do not scroll. You do not speak. You do not drift. You direct. Then you build your evening law, a set of actions you obey before rest. You reflect. You record your wins. You write your plan for tomorrow. You rehearse your identity. You read your aim aloud again. Then you rest, not as a man who is lost, but as a man who has obeyed himself. What you repeat daily becomes who you are. And system is the tool that allows your identity to grow stronger than your excuses. Repetition, when combined with system, is the root of all transformation. Schwab once said that the most powerful force in business is a man who does more than he feels like doing. Why? Because emotion is common, but system is rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. The man who lives by system becomes the man others depend on because he can be counted on regardless of circumstance. Say this now. My system protects me. My system moves me. I follow structure and I am strong. Now let me warn you, the undisciplined man will call this rigid. The drifting man will call this extreme. But understand, these are the whispers of weakness, spoken by minds that have no fortress. The man who walks in law is not restricted. He is free. He is not confused. He is not pulled by noise. He is not lost. He is anchored. And anchored men build kingdoms. If you do not build a daily law, you will be built by accident. You will be moved by outside forces, seduced by distraction, and defeated by your own hesitation. But if you obey the same system daily, you become unshakable. Now take out your pen and write. Morning system. Wake, drink water, read aim aloud, move for 15 minutes, speak affirmations, declare 3 targets. Evening system. Reflect, record progress, plan 3 goals for tomorrow, read aim aloud, sleep with command. If you obey this for 30 days, your life will begin to obey you. You will feel less tired, not because your energy has increased, but because your indecision has decreased. System silences confusion. Say this again aloud. I follow law, not mood. My habits decide. I do not negotiate. Build the system now. Obey it tomorrow. Let system kill hesitation, and let structure build strength. Part 3, do not wait to feel ready. Act in spite of feeling. You delay because you wait to feel ready. But readiness is not a feeling. It is a decision. And the man who requires feeling before action will be owned by hesitation for the rest of his life. The world will not wait for your inspiration. Infinite intelligence does not respond to delay. It responds to movement. The successful man moves when unsure. He acts when uncertain. He takes the first step when others wait to be carried. He understands that power is not found in perfect conditions, but in the man who walks anyway. That man becomes unstoppable, not because he has no fear, but because he refuses to worship it. You must now abandon this lie. I will act when I feel ready. No, you will act because you have issued a command to yourself. You will move because your law is greater than your emotion, and you will move again tomorrow, not because you woke up inspired, but because you have built the identity of the man who moves. When Edison worked toward the electric light, he did not wait for certainty. He did not wait for applause. He failed and failed and failed again, not because he was sure of success, but because he had decided he would not stop until success obeyed him. This is law. This is movement in spite of feeling. Say aloud, I move before I feel. I act before I believe. I obey before I doubt. You have trained your body to move only when conditions are soft. Now you must reverse it. You must act even when the ground shakes, even when the fog has not lifted, even when the voices of fear return. Because when you act under pressure, your identity is rewritten, and you must rewrite the man before you can rewrite his results. This is a divine law. Action precedes clarity. The fog will not lift until you walk into it. The mind will not sharpen until it is used under stress. You do not need to understand everything before you begin. You need only to begin. The man who walks becomes wise. The man who waits becomes regret. Every time you act in spite of fear, you inform the subconscious, I am not a slave to feeling. I am a master of direction. And the subconscious obeys. But every time you delay, you teach the mind to mistrust your word. That is how weakness is built, not in one moment, but in the repeated betrayal of self-command. You must learn to act without question. That is the path to strength. Do not rehearse the pain. Do not consult your mood. Do not look for signs. Act, step, begin. This is not recklessness. This is obedience to law. Now say this aloud with force. I am the type of man who moves forward. I do not ask if I feel ready. I am already commanded. Begin with one small act. Do not wait to finish the mountain. Begin with one stone. Write the letter. Start the workout. Open the book. Make the call. And do it not as a man trying to achieve. Do it as a man who is obeying his own system. Once your body learns that action follows decision and not emotion, your mind will finally trust you. That trust is your power. That trust builds belief. And belief brings forward results not from magic, but from repetition of right movement under pressure. You will not always know what to do, but you will always know that you must do. And the man who is willing to act in uncertainty will be given more strength, more power, more clarity, because he has proven himself worthy of it. Part 4. Train the body to command the mind. You cannot have a sharp mind while carrying a sluggish body. A man whose limbs are weak, whose breathing is shallow, whose posture is fallen, cannot summon great thought. Your body is not separate from your mind. It is the servant or the saboteur, and it must be trained to obey. Laziness begins in the body. It is not always mental. It is not always emotional. It is often physical stagnation masquerading as mental fatigue. But if you begin to move the body daily without negotiation, you will find the mind becomes alert, energetic, focused. And with that, motivation becomes unnecessary. Edison understood this law. When his mind stalled, when ideas failed to flow, he would rise and walk for hours, alone. Not for exercise, but for mental command. He knew that movement stirred the subconscious, that ideas are not summoned in stillness, but in the rhythm of step, in the motion of breath, in the flow of blood through a body that is obedient to its owner. You do not need to become a man of brute strength. You must become a man of movement, a man who does not ask, should I move today? But says, I move because I am a man of law. You must sweat not for vanity, but for mental clarity. The body is not trained for show. It is trained so that it does not stand in the way of your greatness. Repeat after me, I move because I rule myself. I train my body to sharpen my mind. Each day you must move, not once a week, not when you feel like it, every day. Because every day your mind requires obedience, and if your body is rebellious, then so too shall your thoughts be. But if your body is under control, then your emotions, your beliefs, your decisions, they shall obey. Start simply. Walk each morning with your aim in your heart. Stretch in silence with your affirmations in your mind. Lift weight, not just of iron, but the weight of identity. Prove to yourself through motion that you are not a man ruled by fatigue. You are a builder of strength. Your lungs, your muscles, your spine, they will all serve the mind that governs them with authority. Understand this. The undisciplined body leads to the undisciplined life. Look at the man who cannot rise on time, who eats without awareness, who slouches through his day. That man cannot command riches. He cannot hold power. He cannot think in law, for the body is the first evidence of inner structure. Use movement to shape not just energy, but identity. Let your posture declare your command. Let your stride reveal your purpose. Let your presence announce that you are a man who is governed from within, not pulled from without. Now say this again. I move because I rule myself. I train my body to sharpen my mind. Make movement your daily law. Begin with 15 minutes, then 30. You need not do it for performance, you do it for proof. You do it to say to yourself, I keep my word. And when your body learns that law, your mind will obey too. Laziness cannot survive inside a body that moves with ritual. Confusion cannot grow inside a man who breathes deeply and walks with rhythm. This is not exercise. This is alignment. This is the synchronizing of body and thought to serve your definite chief aim. So now move, not tomorrow, not when you feel rested, today. Move even if it is cold. Move even if it is raining. Move even if your limbs ache. Because each time you do, you kill the excuse. You cut down the old self, you build the mental fortress. Part 5. Repetition is greater than inspiration. The greatest lie a man believes is this, that he must be inspired to begin, that he must feel a spark, that he must wait for the fire to rise before he can work. But the men who build empires, who command wealth, who forge discipline, they do not rise because they feel fire. They rise because they obey repetition. Repetition is not glamorous. It is not praised by the crowd. It does not dazzle the emotional man. But it is the only law that turns thought into power and power into identity. The average man seeks novelty, but the master seeks structure. And structure is made of repeated law, spoken, acted, enforced, until it becomes you. Let me say what I have said to thousands. If you repeat nothing, you become nothing. The mind does not respond to variety. The mind responds to rhythm. And rhythm is born through the repetition of a single aim, a single command, a single act, done daily without excuse. Charles M. Schwab was not the most brilliant man in every room, but he was consistent. He rose at the same hour. He reviewed his plans at the same time. He acted even when uncertain. He repeated every action that strengthened his aim until it no longer required thought. It had become his nature. This is what separates dreamers from builders. You do not repeat because you are weak. You repeat because you are becoming strong. You repeat your aim. You repeat your affirmations. You repeat your system. You repeat your movements. And soon, what once felt like effort becomes your identity. Say this now with force. I repeat because I rule. I repeat because I become. You must write your definite chief aim and read it aloud morning and night. You must write your 3 daily targets and obey them with precision. You must declare your affirmations, not to impress others, but to instruct your subconscious mind. And you must do this every single day. Inspiration comes and goes, but repetition builds destiny. The man who repeats is the man who builds. He does not concern himself with whether he feels like doing the thing. He concerns himself with whether the thing gets done. When you repeat your aim each morning, you declare your law before the world has a chance to distract you. When you repeat it again at night, you give instruction to the subconscious before sleep. And this is no small thing. The subconscious is always listening. And what you repeat in it with feeling, it accepts as command. Do not think repetition is weakness. Repetition is royalty, for it trains the mind to obey, and that is the greatest power of all. Now say it again. I repeat because I rule. I repeat because I become. If you obey this principle, you will soon wake up not wondering what to do, but knowing. You will not ask if you are motivated. You will move. You will not negotiate with fear. You will walk through it, because the pattern is stronger than the panic. Let others chase variety. Let others beg for a new method every week, but not you. You are a man of rhythm, a man of pattern, a man of repetition. And because you obey the same pattern each day, you become inevitable. So I say to you, write the pattern, speak the aim, move by ritual, read the affirmations, and do it again and again and again. Do this, and the man you once begged to become will one day wake up, look in the mirror, and say, I am here. Part 6. Remove distraction or stay weak. A man cannot grow strong in mind while permitting his environment to scatter him. Distraction is not harmless. It is poison. It weakens resolve, breaks rhythm, and robs a man of the mental energy required to carry out his definite chief aim. If you allow the outer world to pull you from within, then you are ruled not by law, but by noise. The mind was not made to serve many voices. It was made to obey one definite command. But when you rise in the morning and allow idle chatter, gossip, trivial talk, and endless information to fill your head, you forfeit command. You become a slave to opinion. You become a beggar of attention. You drift. John D. Rockefeller understood the power of silence. He removed himself from noise, not only physical noise, but mental clutter. He refused to be swayed by headlines, by rumors, by other men's fears. And this stillness gave him the strength to think long, to move with vision, to act without permission. If you wish to build riches, you must do the same. Now say this aloud. I remove weakness. I remove noise. I build with focus. Distraction is not merely amusement, it is disobedience. Every time you permit interruption, you are instructing your subconscious that your law is weak, that your aim may be overruled. And what is overruled often becomes forgotten. But the man who guards his thought as he would a garden, he produces fruit in season. Look around your life. What distracts you? Who distracts you? What voices, images, or habits invade your morning? What activities leave you feeling scattered and tired, yet produce no fruit? These are weeds. Pull them. Not next week, not after one more hour. Now write down 3 distractions that steal your time. Speak them aloud, then cast them out. You must declare war on drift. You must reclaim your inner chamber. Your mind must become a temple, not a tavern. A throne room, not a theater. Do not tell yourself, I can handle both. No man can serve 2 masters. You cannot seek greatness while feeding on foolishness. You cannot build strength while bathing in confusion. A powerful life requires powerful thought, and powerful thought requires protection. Now repeat. I remove weakness. I remove noise. I build with focus. From this day forward, guard the first hour of your morning with law. No speaking unless it serves your aim. No input unless it aligns with your purpose. Review your aim. Declare your affirmations. Sit in stillness. Begin the day with structure. Begin the day in command. You must also create boundaries around your work. Do not allow idle talk to enter the hours meant for execution. Do not let every knock at the door enter your world. You are not rude, you are devoted. And devotion requires separation from disorder. Let the world wonder why you no longer answer every call. Let them gossip, let them doubt. For when your fruit appears, when your results begin to speak, the same voices that once mocked your silence will beg for your method. But you do not explain, you build. You do not defend your discipline, you demonstrate it with time, with results, with unshakable rhythm. Say once more, I remove weakness, I remove noise, I build with focus. This is not a small principle, it is not a minor rule, it is the gate through which all power must pass. Until you remove distraction, you shall remain weak. But once you decide, once you strip away all that does not serve, you will become a man of depth, a man of force, a man who cannot be moved by the crowd, for he is already moved by law. Part 7. Walk alone until you build identity. There comes a time in every man's journey when the road narrows, the voices disappear, and the crowd falls away. It is not punishment, it is law. You are being called to separate, not from others, but from who you once were. And until you answer that call, you will remain chained to the opinions, comforts, and rhythms of weaker men. This separation is not the absence of support, it is the presence of power. Every man who ever rose, Carnegie, Ford, Lincoln, Edison, Rockefeller, was first misunderstood, first doubted, first isolated. The light of their greatness was born in rooms where no one clapped, no one called, and no one cared. You believe you are behind because you are alone, but you are not behind. You are becoming. You are being tested to see, can you walk with only your definite chief aim as your companion? Can you obey your law when no one is watching? Can you show up, build, repeat, and speak when no hand is clapping and no one sees you? If the answer is yes, then you are near the threshold of identity. For identity is not built when the world praises you. It is built when you rise before dawn, speak your aim aloud, and move your body forward, regardless of feeling, company, or reward. Say aloud now, I walk alone, I speak law, I follow through regardless. Do not confuse loneliness with growth. The crowd distracts. The crowd dilutes. The crowd encourages wandering, but the solitary man sharpens. He listens to the still voice of his purpose. He hears the command of infinite intelligence. He becomes deaf to emotion and obedient to rhythm. Ask yourself, who are you becoming when no one is watching? What do your private actions say about your public dreams? Do you move with the same precision in silence as you would if the whole world applauded? Because if you must be seen to act, you are still a slave. You are ruled by approval, not principle. But the man who walks alone with law in his heart is already a king. Abraham Lincoln did not wait for consensus to issue command. He stood against the tide of popular opinion. He was mocked, condemned, betrayed, even by his own counsel. And yet he did not drift. He was anchored to purpose, anchored to law, anchored to the written command of who he had decided to be. You must now accept this truth. You will be questioned. You will be misread. You will be laughed at. But you will not break because you will know who you are. Say it again. I walk alone, I speak law, I follow through regardless. Every man must pass through this desert. It is the desert of silence, of doubt, of solitude, but it is also the furnace of transformation. The longer you walk in obedience without applause, the stronger your identity becomes. The less you explain yourself, the more powerful your results will be. Let others party. Let others gossip. Let others scroll and flatter and wander. But you will build, you will repeat, you will move, you will rise. And what shall you gain from this silence? You will gain ownership over your attention. You will gain strength of decision. You will gain the ability to act under pressure without needing encouragement, because encouragement will no longer be your master. Say it again. I walk alone. I speak law. I follow through regardless. There is a divine moment when the silence becomes holy, when the very absence of noise becomes your sanctuary, when you no longer fear being alone with your thoughts because those thoughts have been trained, they have been repeated. They are now your servants, not your saboteurs. You will not find this power in crowds. You will not find it in voices. You will not find it in borrowed belief. You will find it in repetition, in written law, in unshakable routine, in the solitude of morning darkness, in the final prayer before sleep. And the most extraordinary change, you will stop explaining your dreams. You will start demonstrating them. You will stop begging for understanding. You will become too focused to speak of what has not yet been built. You will build it. Then they will understand. And if they do not, that too shall mean nothing, because you will not live for applause. You will live for fulfillment of purpose. That is higher. That is eternal. That is what separates a man from the masses. Say it again. I walk alone, I speak law, I follow through regardless. Now let me teach you a powerful truth. The man who can repeat this rhythm in silence for 90 days, without support, without celebration, without newness, will become unstoppable. Because by then, the structure will no longer be something he does. It will be who he is. Identity must be earned. It cannot be posted. It cannot be borrowed. It must be forged. And solitude is the forge, the place where weakness dies and self-authorship begins. You do not need a crowd to become. You do not need recognition to transform. You need only law, time, and obedience. Each day you rise and repeat your aim. You strike the anvil. Each evening you move your body in obedience. You shape the iron. Each distraction you eliminate. Each excuse you kill. Each doubt you replace with declaration. You strengthen the frame of the man you are building. And one day you will rise and realize you no longer wait. You no longer explain. You no longer fear the silence. You have become identity. You have become law. You have become purpose in flesh. Say it with your whole chest now. I walk alone. I speak law. I follow through regardless. So now I say to you, walk. Speak your law. Repeat it. Obey it. Walk without applause. Walk without witness. Walk until you no longer care who joins you, because you know who you are. And when the world finally sees you, when they ask how you did it, when they marvel at your strength, your vision, your results, say nothing. Let your identity speak. Let your pattern speak. Let your silence thunder louder than their words. Let them see what becomes of the man who dared to walk alone until he no longer was. Part 8. Build until you no longer need motivation. A man is free the moment he no longer waits to be pushed. He no longer begs to be lit by the fire of feeling. He no longer searches for a reason to begin, for he has become reason itself. He does not ask, do I feel like it? He commands, it is time. And then he acts, without emotion, without excuse, without delay. You will know you are no longer the old man when movement is no longer debated, when the plan is no longer questioned, when the fire does not come from around you, but from within you. That is when motivation dies, and discipline is born, and from that discipline, identity is forged. I have seen many men speak of greatness. I have heard their wishes, but wishes are clouds. They shift with the wind. Discipline is a hammer. It builds. It strikes the same spot again and again until the shape of destiny is formed, and it is earned, not hoped. Say aloud now. I do not need push. I am pull. I think with law. I act with purpose. I finish what I begin. The world is filled with men who start. Few finish. Because few are willing to repeat a command until it becomes who they are. But I tell you this, repetition is greater than passion. Passion begins loud and ends early. But rhythm is eternal. It wakes you, moves you, becomes you. Understand this law. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity becomes identity. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior writes destiny. You cannot escape this. If you repeat doubt, you become hesitation. If you repeat power, you become certainty. When I was commanded by Andrew Carnegie to write down my definite chief aim, it was not because writing alone would change me. It was because repetition of thought is the first stage of self-creation. The written word repeated becomes law, and law becomes a structure so strong not even fear can tear it down. If you still wait for permission to act, you have not built identity. If you still wonder what to do each morning, you have not built law. If you still beg for rest when discipline is required, then understand you are still being ruled by feeling, not command. I ask you this, who do you wish to become? And if you know him, do you act like him today? Do you speak as he would speak? Do you rise when he would rise? Do you follow through on the same actions that built his life? If not, then start. Speak his words, obey his schedule, follow his pattern, until your mind can no longer tell the difference between who you are and who you are becoming. This is not imagination. It is lawful transformation, and it is yours if you obey it. Say it with me. I do not need push. I am pull. I think with law. I act with purpose. I finish what I begin. You must now write your identity. You must write your habits. You must write your rhythm, and live them daily, without fail, without drift, without seeking new paths. The mind does not need variety. It needs structure. It needs command. The law of cosmic habit force governs every being. What you do daily becomes who you are. It cannot be escaped. This law is the very foundation of every rich life, every strong character, every enduring legacy. Repeated acts become automatic. Automatic acts become character. Character shapes fate. If you rise each day at a fixed hour, speak your aim, move your body, act on purpose, and finish what you start, then in time, your very nature will be that of a disciplined builder. You will no longer ask how to become, you will have become. And what happens when you no longer need motivation? You will move faster than ever before. You will no longer stop for small setbacks. You will no longer waste energy on inner debate. You will conserve every ounce of willpower because you will no longer use it for decisions. You will use it for execution. This is how great men move. Edison, Ford, Rockefeller, Schwab, none of them waited for emotion to drive their days. They drove their days with ritual. They rose at set times. They practiced stillness. They obeyed written plans. They acted from law, not from laughter or fear, and so the world obeyed them. This same world will obey you once you obey yourself. Now say again, I do not need push. I am pull. I think with law. I act with purpose. I finish what I begin. Now I give you your final instructions. These are not suggestions. These are orders. If you wish to become who you are meant to be, write your definite chief aim on paper. Post it where you see it every day. Speak it aloud with intensity each morning and each evening. Build your morning and evening systems. Do not begin the day without law. Do not end the day without rehearsal. Your system will carry you when your emotion fails you. Eliminate all drift. If you find yourself distracted, recenter on your aim. Sit in silence. Speak your command. Return to obedience. Move daily. Your body is not decoration. It is a servant of thought. It must be ruled. It must be trained. Without discipline of the body, the mind falls to softness. Repeat until it becomes you. Do not seek new. Do not seek exciting. Seek obedience. The boring becomes powerful when repeated with belief. Burn weakness with silence. Do not explain your new path. Walk it. Let results be your announcement. Let rhythm be your voice. Never again say, I don't feel like it. That voice has no place in the mind of a king. Your law is not based on mood. It is based on decision. Do not break the chain. Each day of obedience strengthens identity. Each day of delay breaks the structure. Guard your pattern as if it were your soul, because it is. And now I say to you, if you have listened and you act, you shall never need motivation again. You will no longer drift. You will no longer beg. You will no longer be the man who wonders what to do. You will be the man who builds. Say it one final time. I do not need push. I am pull. I think with law. I act with purpose. I finish what I begin. Now rise, write, obey, and let your new identity speak with results.